last video I talked about essentially like not living off of interest, but like collecting interest on a high yield savings, which is pretty straightforward. I think majority of people, know what a high yield savings is. I've seen a lot of people talk about it on TikTok and all these other platforms, but as we can see, it fluctuates with how much I usually have in it. It's a pretty low rate, as you can see, like 3.60. Literally, like American Express is probably taking my money and then putting it into a T-bill, which is basically loaning the government money. And a 4-week T-bill is, I think it's like 4.28. So they're basically making like 0.5% or almost 1%. But as we can see, it spits out 3,100, 32. This one was 39 because it was obviously like more money was in there. Move this into other accounts for actually like stock investments and stuff like that, which we'll talk about in another video. But basically, like, this 3.60% is not that much, right? Like, yes, I'm being very, very, very conservative with having it in here, but the only reason I have it in here is because I haven't seen any actual good plays to make in the markets. Now, you might be wondering, why is that? Obviously there's stocks that, went up a crazy amount in the last month or so, which actually I called on my Instagram. I told people which stocks to buy, and some of them went up 50%. With that being said, times are obviously uncertain with what you should be buying. So I'm not heavily invested in the stocks right now. So for the most part, it's just, pretty conservative, 3.6% little high yield saving accounts. And then obviously other accounts with some positions in the market. But what I would recommend, instead of doing the high yield savings, because I was a little bit lazy with that, and also the rate was like 4% a few months ago. If you have a decent amount of money that you want to put into a high yield savings, just put it into a T-bill. Literally everyone does T-bills. Warren Buffett has 350 billion in T-bills. Like, that is a fuck ton of money to be collecting on I'm pretty sure he does like monthly T-bills. I don't think he's doing like 6-month stuff or yearly stuff. I could be wrong actually, but $350 billion in T-bills. Like, if we do the math on that, the government is paying him so much in interest. I'm pretty sure he owns like 5 or 10% of the treasury bill market. Literally, all treasury bills are, like, if you look at other people that are doing treasury bills, a lot of hedge fund managers are doing it too, because it's essentially the safest way to make risk-free money. You're loaning your money to the US government. They are basically using it for whatever they're using it for, but they are paying you, whether it's in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, they're paying you that interest. It's basically technically called, like, when it matures, when the T-bill matures, they pay you that interest. It's risk-free unless the US literally goes into, like, we just collapse, the US collapses, your money's not going anywhere, and the government is going to pay you back regardless. They'll just raise taxes or print more money. Like, there's no way they're not going to pay you back unless the government collapses. So that's the risk I think a lot of these people take with T-bills. There's literally no risk, and it's higher than most high yield savings, which is why I'm going to transfer a lot of this into there. But for this video, it's really just explaining, like, if if you have some sort of capital, would I recommend putting it into a high yield savings? Probably not, unless you have over $250,000 or over 100,000. Probably the amount of interest you're going to be getting, or even on a T-bill, is not going to be much. Like, you're really not going to get much at all in interest. I would recommend either putting it in the markets, or I recommend putting it into a business or something that you could grow a lot quicker with lower capital. Once you have higher capital, you can do stuff like that. Obviously, like, it makes sense, but everyone starts somewhere. So if you have lower capital, I would definitely suggest doing it in some sort of investment. Like, to some this might be risky, but I called Tesla at 220 or 200, 220 probably like 100 times. And if we look at Tesla and how many times that has happened over the last, let's say, like, I don't know, year maybe, like 200, and then it goes up to 260, goes down to 200, 260, down, and then it had this huge spike after the presidency. Then it went down, 220, 240, 250, again, 220, 280, and then boom, again, 220, 280, and then obviously rallied all the way up to 3 something. So, and it's funny because I literally told people to buy it at 220 every single time. But on that, you could have made 50% in the last month. Like 220, 50%. If you have 20K, you're making 10K off that in a month. Is it riskier? Sure. Is Tesla going to go bankrupt tomorrow? No. If it didn't happen in a month, could you have waited 3 months and it would have happened? Probably. So there are different plays I would definitely suggest doing if you have less capital, putting into the market, or just simply put it into the S&P and, just forget about it. But that's that for today's video. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. There's a ton of stuff I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. But if you have any questions, I would love to answer anything, and I'd love to talk about it and help you guys with whatever I can help you guys with. So thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys for the next one.